Welcome to the Ultimate Farm Wife podcast. On this channel, we're going to be discussing all things marrying a farmer, moving to the land, and becoming integrated with a family farming operation. Whether you're moving to the farm for the first time or whether you're moving back into a family farming operation, we discuss the ins and the outs of all of it. So let's jump into today's episode. Hi and welcome to the farm. Today we are with Alastair. Alastair, tell me a little bit about yourself, your family and your farm.
Hi there. Well, look, my name's Alastair Mosie. I'm from South Australia and I live on our family farm. I mean, there's nothing too backstory about it. I left the farm for quite some time and then came back. And as I realised that you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. We have cereal crops and we are just for sheep as well. We did have our own for over 40 years we have since been leasing the land out for our share farmer as well, which is a wonderful, wonderful team. I do still have a fair bit of stock myself so it's mainly just sheep and cereal crops at the time.
Wonderful. And what crops do you have in at the moment?
Okay, so this year we've got barley, lentils, wheat. We also have we've just done some hay as well, so a little bit of everything this year. We put some lentils in last year as well with a roaring success to really help boost the nitrogen in the soil, and because of that last year our crops this year, even with the very limited rainfall, are actually still looking pretty reasonable in those areas that we planted lentils. So it's quite a fun journey on that side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always get asked after an episode goes live, what sheep breed?
Merino. We are Merino.
Yeah.
So we were always Merino. We had a stud many years ago and just sort of stuck with it. I believe our share farmers are still Merinos as well. Fullbreds. They're big, wonderful sheep, but my God, stubborn as hell. Open gate. No, we're not going through the open gate. We are going through the panel and over the fence and going to make your life hell. So, the standard sheep story.
Yeah, absolutely. So you went away from the farm for a little bit. Tell us what that was like.
It was interesting. When I was younger, I would say I got a diploma in makeup artistry as well, which sort of was starting to develop in boarding school, and I'd loved it. And then originally left school, actually came back to the farm, and then went around Australia on a shearing team for a little bit, and that just didn't work in the end. And basically, I wasn't very good at it. I don't know where the muscle gene was. I didn't get it, so I found other things to do. But came back, and then I ended up doing a lot of performing arts in the city, and a lot of bridal work and makeup work, and teaching people who had been through learning difficulties in schools and whatnot, actually makeup skills to go and get jobs, which it still is a huge passion of mine. But good old Miss Rona happened, and I actually looked at my life, and I was always to and fro from the farm, coming backwards and forwards for a couple of days a week, and then coming back. And then I looked at my life and I was like, what are you doing? Like, you want to be in the country. Why are you doing this? And so I gave up my rental, and I was living with my mum in Lobethal at the time, who's just in another part, split family. And I moved back, and since then it's just built from there. And for how many years it is, years later, permanently living back, it's just been spectacular, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. There's as frantic as it is and as busy as it is, there is such a love of the land, and it's genetic and it's ingrained in you, and the time you get with family and the local community as well, which is just wonderful. I wouldn't trade that for the world. And my lovely partner is also in the wine industry, and so we grow barley, so homemade beer, beautiful.
Absolutely. So tell us about the transition back to the family farm when you decided, yes, I'm moving back. I'm not going to do a couple of days a week. I'm going to do this pretty much full time alongside your other business, which we will get to in a little bit. We've touched on it
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit. So tell us about the initial moving back to the farm.
The moving back was the easiest decision I've ever made. It was, I had a lot of people who were friends in town going, "Oh my God, what are you doing? You're going to go nuts out there in a week." And I said, "No, I am going nuts here doing this life." I said, "So I'm going back." And I became less nuts. And so it was an easy decision. It wasn't hard at all. And I adapted. It was like I never left, which was the nice part. I have a very supportive family and amazing community and district as well here in Napa, South Australia, and it's got a G in it. No one can spell it, but it's great. It's very, very close knit community, and I just love being back. And also, for me personally, I've always been highly strung, and so I've always very, very busy. I can do about 6 things at once, but it came back to the point where I was burning myself out constantly with the traveling, and I was having a lot of burnout. And that's a very big problem these days with money and everything. And most families both parents have to work and so on. And just for me, I was trying to do everything and it wasn't working. So coming back actually gave me a sense of freedom because I could clock on and, do some jobs with Dad on the farm, go and help out, do whatever we needed to do for the day, and I could switch off and then just focus on other things that I was doing. But I could actually switch off, and that was a real blessing to be able to go, the day is done, I can turn off now. This is awesome. So for me, it was just wonderful, and I love the physical work side of things. Yes, it's busy, and we have hot days and cold days, and you find every swear word and you invent a few new ones. But at least you go back to your home at the end of the day and that you're actually making a living from the land, which is one of the most wonderful things to be able to say you do, in my opinion. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
So
that's
let's
sort of how
talk
that.
logistics of that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the conversations with your dad and your stepmom who are on farm with you, and the
Yes.
logistics of it. Sounds as almost as if it was a seamless transition, but there's always more to the logistics of coming back on farm. So tell me about that.
Look, I think every family has their ways of doing things. Like for sure, like it was always for me like Dad has sort of had it. He's Dad is an inventor. I wish I could grab a USB and plug it into his brain and then adapt it into mine. He's so smart at pretty much fixing anything and creating anything. So my mum used to call him Gyro Gearless. So just inventor of all things. So I enjoyed doing the creative side with Dad a lot. But my God, if we were both up the top of a windmill on a really windy day, did we try and eat each other's faces off? Yeah. There was a lot of like, it's my way, and it's like, well, those are things that you just get past. But it's like we've all learned our ways of communicating, and it's very, very good now, which is wonderful. And even back then, I would have to say, it was pretty good. My brother Daniel learns a different way as well, and my sister Kimmy learns a different way, and we all had suggestions on how to fix the same bloody thing, and eventually we got it fixed. So were there little headbutts along the way? Oh, bugger me, yes, absolutely, but nothing more than anyone else I could say really. It's been pretty good, and it's I like to think of it as we never get this time again. I know it sounds like such an old person thing to say, but it's true. Because I look back 10 years and I'm like, wow, those people aren't in my life, or these new ones are. And I go, I'm so grateful that I do actually have this time with my dad and with my siblings, like on the farm. And that's something that you one day will look back and go, well, they're not here anymore. And so I can't have that again. So I'm really, really happy with how things are running and what we do. And I love doing the creative stuff with Dad. He finds a new way for everything all the time. And I go home and I'm like, oh, so I could get that up there with that without that. It's a fascinating mind. So I do enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And we know that every day on the farm is different. There's always a new challenge, there's always something new coming up. But on a day-to-day basis, what are your normal jobs or challenges?
It's we're lucky in the sense that we don't actually have any of the farm machinery, as in for our crops ourselves. We share farm, so that takes out I'm going to say 3/4 of the machine maintenance and stress and expense. So we're very lucky in that aspect. But there is a lot of maintenance. So fencing, checking troughs, checking water, checking our share farmers' sheep, just making sure, because they're very busy, and so you just make sure that there's no fly strike, and all the things that, as Merinos say, there's 101 ways to die. I think they've made 300. They're very good at trying to kill themselves. So it's very, very good at it. It's a unique talent. They're very good, but just maintenance. I'll go to move something and then we burst a water line, or
Name it, it'll happen.
A lot of general maintenance. We get too much wind one day and a piece of iron comes off the big shed. All those general things that you go at. You start the ute in your morning and go, oh, why is that there?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of that. And I would generally say checking, maintenance, building, and sort of improving the ways we do things on the farm. And that's really up to my inventive father. He finds a better way to do everything every week, which is, I just think it's amazing. But we're always sort of learning and developing. And I guess the other one, big coming into summer, making sure all the grass is as low as possible, keeping fire units full of water, keeping them ready, making sure pumps are ready to go. We had an incident about 3 years ago where someone rolled a car actually onto our property, and half the district was about to go up, but because we were fire ready, and one of our neighbours, who was very, very attentive, was onto it so quickly, by the time we got down there with the water cart, it was sort of under control. So those general things, really.
And that makes such a big difference.
It is. Being ready is 3/4 of the battle, because you can just hook the trailer on the ute and go. No waiting for it to fill up, or is the tank empty, or all those problems that can occur on the day. You've got an airlock in the line, and then you can't pump anything, and then all those really, really terrifying things. Because bushfires, I'd say, for anyone who's been in a bushfire, that they remember it. It's terrifying.
It is. Yeah, absolutely is. Now, we mentioned that there hasn't been a great amount of rainfall in South Australia this year. Most of the state has been drought declared for quite some time. So what are the things that you and your farm are doing to maintain the water supply, maintain your stock, maintain your crops during this unique period?
Yeah, okay. So obviously we have had rain this year, so it's not a total drought. We got a downpour the other week, which was very good, but it just kind of filled the dams and ran off. So water conservation is a big one. Like we have 2 houses on the property, but my small house that I'm in now is actually half bore, half rain. So laundry, bathroom, everything, kitchen sink, dishwasher, all run off bore water. And I can change that over at any time. But we run that off bore during summer, so that, and yes, the shower is a little not as wonderful as it could be being on rain. I mean, it's your head pretty much goes wherever you put it straight after you've been in the shower, because it's so full of salt. But it's little sacrifices like that don't bother me in the slightest. But obviously rainwater tanks, big one. Keep them full. I tend to transfer water from one tank to the next. If I see a couple of tanks down the shearing shed are full, I could pump water up to the house, so that when it does rain, those tanks can be topped up and it doesn't just run off. And obviously the quick shower, and we don't irrigate. So we try and maintain our water table as much as possible, because, as you know, the more bore water that we, neighbours, whoever, drain out, the table gets a bit lower, gets a bit saltier, and this continues on until you have a 2021 year, where it's all 22, 21, wherever it was, when we had those massive floods, and then the table comes back up. So it's just mindful things like that.
Yeah.
and catching water wherever we can. So
Every roof needs a tank.
every roof needs a tank, basically, and probably making sure the lines are up to scratch as well, so that we don't have full tank, more pressure, blown line, those sorts of things. And if you see a green spot somewhere in the middle of summer, find out why it's green.
It's probably a leaking pipe.
Probably leaking. Trough maintenance would be another one, because obviously, merinos being quite big sheep, they stick their head under the trough and they'll stick the float up, and then that just runs out for hours and hours and hours. Checking that every day, those sorts of things. And
if you're enjoying listening along with us today and learning some tips, tricks, and advice, then please like, subscribe, and even share this interview with someone who you think would need to hear this information, or who might benefit from other interviews done right here on this channel. Now let's get back into today's episode.
yeah, that's all I can think of that I do anyway. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So let's start talking about your other business. So, as well as the farming and the
Yes.
shared farming and helping neighbours out as well, you are also running your own business, bringing some of your creative ability from the city when you did have your break from farm back on farm through a new amazing product that just looks absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to show that as a social tile during this week where we air this interview as well. So tell us about this business and how it fits in with the family farm.
Okay, so I have been a makeup artist for coming up to 16 years. Got into it because I saw through a very dear relative of mine how makeup can make you feel so confident no matter how bad your day is. Right now, this is not to say it's for everyone, but I wanted to do something to make women feel better. Anyway, was in performing arts for a while, so I had the skills, and then I went and got a diploma at Media Makeup Academy, and they actually hired me back directly after my class was finished. And it was quite odd teaching some of the people that had to be sort of go through more courses from my class. I became the lecturer, and I could tell you that was the worst day of my life. They didn't listen to a bloody thing I had to say, trust me. But moving on from there, I loved the creative side of makeup and what it can do for someone's confidence and how it goes about. Anyway, COVID happened, and it's literally a touching business, like makeup brush to face. So I got a big letter from the government saying, "Thou shalt not touch." I thought that was pretty much the end of it. So I used that horrible word we used a lot in COVID, pivot. I did a lot of online training and education, which was really good. Then YouTube blew up and took my bottom line completely out, because no one had to pay for a tutorial anymore, even though they were like 20 for 20 videos. So they were very cheap, but YouTube made it free by everyone doing it. So I then had to pivot again, and I did my YouTube and everything, but I thought, I am a farmer, makeup artist, complete petrol head. Like this, this is actually a bit funny. If you look at my life, you'd probably just say, whatever, bullshit. But it's all real, and it's very real. And so I thought, right, I've got to do something with this. And I thought, a lot of my rural clients say they couldn't be bothered with makeup, because every time they walked into I can't use names, but a makeup brand of somewhere, one of two things that happen. They'd either get looked at like, oh God, she's in RMs, right? She's got an overdraft bigger than the Queen, sell her everything.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was the opposite, and they'd just be like, I'm sorry, are you lost? And it's like literally the Pretty Woman scene, and they're just looking at them like, where'd you blow in from? And I got so fed up with this. I was like, if you only knew where your meals are coming from, you'd probably be just a wee bit less bitchy. And so I started a brand called Sensation Makeup Artistry. And I was talking about this with my friend, and we had a big night, and I thought, this is just the funniest thing. And I'd written it down on a napkin. I thought, how funny would it be if I made an eyeshadow palette called Bush Babes? And there it is.
There it is.
All the colors would be named like High Vis and Land Cruiser Soot and Dusty, and have some imagery. And I thought, well, hang on a minute. A very talented artist named Jed Dunstan is actually my neighbor. who does these incredible calendars every year. And I'm like, so I contracted him to do the artwork for me of all authentic chick sitting on the bull bar of a ute, doing her makeup, heading for the pub. And I thought, this has never been done. This is going to do three things. One, break a stigma that outback chicks don't like to wear makeup, because they do, right? Not everyone, but some do, a lot do. And how often have you shoved on a face in the rearview mirror of your car, no matter where you are,
100%.
right? Literally, right? Wet wipe, and then just shoved it on, and then gone and had a big night at the pub. And it just spiraled from there. Like, the palette was launched and people loved it. We had some retailers like Allington's picked it up, and they stock it now, which is wonderful. And we've got several other stockists, and that was great. And then I moved into foundations, concealers, and products that are very, very simple and easy to use. Literally no BS. You just put it on instead of 30 primers and a lip primer and an eye primer and everything that people just go, oh, so confused. Why do I need this? The answer is you don't, basically. Do just a nice everyday makeup. You don't. So I made a line called She'll Be Right. And that literally embodies the She'll Be Right, slap it on, let's look beautiful, let's go out, right? Without all the hassle and the fuss. And it's just grown from there. And so my love of teaching people makeup, my love of being able to make things simple, and my love of beauty came together by representing Australian women in makeup, and not just women as well, man. So every gender, but I'm going to say predominantly women in the outback. And it was so nice to be able to provide a service and a product that can reach out there without having to go to the chemist or wherever and go pick up a shade which they have no idea what the shade is, and it might be nice, and you get home and it's 4 shades too dark and it feels terrible and you cannot take it back, right? So I wanted to make something that was literally, it's numbered 1 to 20, right? It's really, really simple. And it was just a joy to be able to represent Australian outback culture and everyday culture in makeup, which there just wasn't. There was a huge gap in the market, and it was amazing to be able to fill it. So it's just moving forward and up. And I've been doing some in-person and live events called Beauty and Bubbles, where everyone gets to have a nice champagne, nice food. And I actually do makeup lessons in person in the towns. And it's amazing the amount of people that say, I haven't bought this in years because I hate asking, or I just don't know what suits my skin. And I just don't bother anymore, because I don't like asking those questions. And it comes back to confidence. It comes back to when you get looked down your nose upon or frowned upon or any of those things, it can happen once, it can happen 40 times. Everyone's different on how they receive that. And so when it came to the point, I had one beautiful lady, stunning anyway, and she said, oh no, they said I couldn't wear this because I wasn't in that age bracket now. She didn't buy makeup for 20 years after that, because that one comment hurt her so badly and made her feel so ugh and old and everything else, that she didn't go back. And you hear stories like this and you go, and it just gives me the fire to keep pushing it and keep doing it, to say, stuff anyone who's told you that, because we're going to make it simple, make it work for you.
Yeah.
So that's where it goes. I could talk for 20 years about this, but it's just it, and bringing it back to how it runs into the farm, which is your other question. I'm still working on that. They're still very separate things. It's it's Australian themed, Australian based, but I mean, I seem to make it meld. I'll be doing emails and doing like Zooms with clients while I've got a sheep in the background. So just check out the TikTok, trust me. But it's great fun, but at the same point, I'm still working on actually doing some more community events on the farm for makeup, which is the big dream. One day I would like to have some big, come in the shearing shed, learn some makeup and have a wonderful time and have a bit of a local networking kind of thing. So one day I will make that happen. But it's just just trying to get every piece slowly running at the same time. And it's been a journey. So I have lots of neighbors who run their own businesses as mothers and wives, plus helping out with the shearing, cooking, and then going out mustering and everything else. And we often have a bit of a chat and go, right, time for a beer yet? We're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things to juggle. It's I found for me personally, a list is good. A list is great. If I can literally go Monday to Friday, what are we achieving? What days can I actually take the foot off the gas a bit? And what days do I have to absolutely pound it? So I find that helps for me personally.
Yeah, I love a good list. I've always got a handful of lists running depending on when I can slide things in around the farm and the kids and everything else. So love a good list. It's always a good tip to be giving out if that's the way that your brain works, and it just to get a little bit organized and spread the load definitely helps with that balance as well.
Look, and being in a same-sex relationship, obviously I do not have children, and it's I just take my hat off to every single working farming mum who's running a business as well as the house, as well as the children. I think I'm busy. I am not in comparison. So hats off, every hat I could possibly wear off. I think it's just incredible.
Yeah. Alistair, there is a lot of community members as part of the Ultimate Farm Wife who are moving back to their family farm and wanting to integrate back into the family farming business. So what are your top tips and advice to them when they're wanting to come back on farm? Is there certain conversations they need to have beforehand? Is there, what do you communicate beautifully with your family, even if you do occasionally headbutt, but how do you keep that going? How was that when you got back on farm?
Look, this may sound really weird, but I'm a quite a big fan of like a few singers and artists. It sounds like, trust me, I have a point here. It was actually Pink who said, "Love, trust, and family is about always coming back to the table." And it was that's stuck in my brain because families have difficulties and fights, and particularly with brothers and sisters and other things. Some might want to go in one direction with the farm, another ones might go in another one. Everyone has to come and have a conversation. It takes time. It takes a lot of time, and it can be very painful. It can be very, very painful. My best advice is do it. Start it. Go through the yuck conversations. Have them early. Don't get 5-10 years down the track and say, "I thought you said this." Don't do that, because that brings heartache and problems. And I've seen so many farms go under for this reason, whether they go, no one can agree, so we're selling it.
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking, because we're 7 generations here, and I would love to pass that on to either my brother and sister's children later, or even if it was my cousin's children, it doesn't matter. Like, I'd just love to make sure that it stays in the Mosie family somehow, God willing, when I'm no longer around. I think those conversations are very, very important to have. But also, just start the process. Start. And if you really love the farm, put your back into it. Like, actually, don't do the talking, do the walking. Like, actually get out there, start doing the things. Like, if someone's ill one day, go and check some fences, go and do some things, help out a neighbor, do something, because that's what the community, and particularly working on a family farm, is about. It's not everyone can give 100% at the time. My father and stepmother, if they see this, they're going to kill me, but they're older. And good days, bad days, health problems, things like that. Sometimes you have to be able to carry the load. And then there's other times where I've been like, wow, actually, I'm really struggling financially. And they were able to give me a lot of work. And so, it's about the equilibrium and having those honest conversations. It's a journey. It is a journey. But I think for anyone who's on the fence, I would ask the question that I asked myself, and that was, are you happy? And does your life right now bring you joy? And my partner, Paul, he's a big one for that. He's such an incredible support, and God, I love him. But he's like, he will see me fighting over something and something that I'll obsess on or try and get done. And he'll go, is this bringing you joy? I'll actually take a minute and go, oh, words I can't say on this interview. And then take a minute and go, no, it's not bringing me joy at all. In fact, I'm really anxious about this, and it's giving me a headache. So look at your life now see if living in town, doing whatever, trying to juggle all the hats is actually bringing you joy. If it does, and you feel like you'd be completely isolated on the farm, maybe it's not for you. But if you enjoy community involvement, if you enjoy helping family, if you enjoy the quieter as well as busy life, then absolutely go for it. Just stop worrying, because I think particularly in this climate at the moment, rental crisis, housing crisis, there are people that I know that are the more city and like have never seen like a burr or a bindi in their life, or dirt road. And they're moving out to places like Udunda and Kapunda and everywhere simply for affordable housing now. But after the first year, people are going, oh my God, I'm not stressed. I went and had a beer and did something at lunchtime with a friend. And then we did a raffle for the CWA and I've made all these friends. I said, yeah. I said, this is the point. And if you do feel isolated, get involved in local sport. That's a big one. It doesn't matter, like whether you're literally serving drinks at the footy oval or helping behind the scenes, doing whatever, or coaching, anything like that. Local sport is good fun. I can't play sport for shit. Whatever that gene is, I didn't get it. Catch a ball, never. I just run away from it, terrified. But I still go to when like Borough or Udunda has the footy on. I love going. Great fun. And you get to catch up with everyone, and the things you hear and the things you mention after a while, you're like, oh, what? I might actually know someone I can help with that. Or if we said the other week, I said, we need a new plumber now. Found one. We're at the footy. So I would say there's a lot to do, so you won't be bored.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely.
And Alistair, was there any advice that was given to you about moving back to the farm, or advice that you would give to someone else who hasn't come from a farming background who is moving into a farm?
Yeah, well, the first one is no. I had everyone dead against me. Not my family, disclaimer, like dad and Jeanette and my little brother and sister were thrilled that I was back. But it's everyone else is going, what is wrong with you? You built this makeup business. It's really successful. Like, why do you want to move up there? Ooh. And I'm serious. I had a lot of people to fob off, basically. And in the end, I said, well, my life, my choice. So it's a case of suck it and see, because I thought, well, if it doesn't work, I can always find another place back, right? I can always go back to being dreadfully unhappy and depressed in the city. Like, what have I got to lose for leaving, right?
Yeah,
depression and high house prices are just like a couple of blocks away if I want to go back. So I was like, no. So for me, I'd made up my mind.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah, I would just say, but I came from the country. So my journey back was a lot easier because I just went, oh, I'm home. And I'll work out the other stuff later. And I did. So that was good for me. The advice I would give to someone who's never been on the land and going to the land, be a part of the community. Introduce yourself to your neighbours. Big one. Go knock on the door. Bring
Yeah.
a 6-pack or a bottle of champagne or whatever. If you don't drink, you don't drink. That's fine. It's caters for all kinds. But you know what I mean. It's like go and pop over and say hi. Introduce yourself. Give them your phone number of any emergencies that happen, because often we've had a few people change around the area in the time. Not many, but a couple. And it's very good to have your neighbours and your community on site, because if there is a fire, flood, emergency, someone gets bitten by a snake, or something, it's good to have that support. And it's also good to be on good terms as well. You don't want to have, being in the country, if you think people gossip in the city, ooh, just wait till you move to the country. That negative telephone is loud and fast. If you make a big boo-boo, everyone's going to know. It's like that scene out of Priscilla where the music stops and everyone just stares in the pub. It's a bit like that. So, and just be respectful. Be respectful. If you see a community event that you could probably help out with, pitch in. And above all, just be kind and hardworking. I'm just thinking of like the general community side of things. So that's what we like. We don't have gripes with anyone around here. And if we do have a gripe, they know about it very quickly.
Yeah.
So
And you
it's
top
like,
it
yeah, you just go, oi, what was that?
in.
But like, half the time, even though my place is literally 2Ks down the road from my front fence, I'll have a neighbor message me and go, red car at your house. Is that yours? And I'll be like, oh, it must be brother's friends or someone. I'm like, no, all good. They're on the camera, all good. But it's like, it's nice to see people. Or if you've had a bonfire, they're like, just checking your home. And I'm like, yep, all good. I'm like, that's us with the bonfire. They're like, no worries, all good. So it's good to have.
It's nice that they're keeping an eye out.
Yeah. And it's nice to be able to do the same. Like if you see a couple of cars hooning around or something and they go up a driveway, you go, I don't think so. Because we have, unfortunately, as most rural communities we've had a lot of theft and a lot of raiding of sheds and tools and wonderful things. So it's been a bit of a journey to get past that. Advice would be probably a camera on the shed in the front door. Just keep a look around because people do snoop around. And they seem to think it's free country, or they'll just go, oh, what a lovely creek. I'm like, also private property. Fly. So unfortunately, there's those things too. So it's good with the bad, but I'm going to say it's 80% good.
Yeah, but we love that one. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast this week.
Just a reminder that Katja Williams, the ultimate farm wife, is also a Tupperware consultant. Use the link in the show notes to make sure that you're supporting the Ultimate Farm Wife podcast and channel. Whether you are looking for unique pieces for your kitchen, replacement items, or whether you are looking for something suitable to taking food and lunches down the paddock, not only in our current busy season, but also to barbecues, parties, or if you're looking for Christmas gifts, this is the ideal link for you. Thank you very much for joining us in this episode, and we look forward to seeing you in another one.